Well, we have running water, we have a missing wall, we have demolished back stairs. Fenella is doing her part to keep me alive in this heat, and I also have some answers to your frequently asked questions. I'm Kelly Johnley. Welcome back to Bajan Renovation. If you remember the first time we came and looked at this property, there was a gate by the garage, a gate to enter this small side here, a gate to get to the patio, and a gate to enter on the side because this was its own gated community. But we have since removed some of these gates, and one that I want to show you is the new access point, or should I say the expanded access point to the apartment/offices. So true story. The last time Fenella and I were here, I had on a very nice dress. I had just come from a meeting and I had on my nice sandals because the look was a moment. And let's just say I nearly burst my butt when my foot slid on something, and that was the last time the contractor would have to tell me, "Mistress, stop coming down here in slippers." It was rough, and I'm at that age where we don't fall and bounce. Anyways, so we're looking at the new access point now to the backyard. This was, as you may recall, a wall structure. I believe the previous owner kept their washing machine in here. So now that we have cleared this part and are still clearing in the back, anyone who is renting the property or who has to access the office doesn't have to come through the main house to do so. They can have their own keys and own parking and own access point. Here was another surprise from earlier this week. The back steps are gone, or going. I had a good surprise this week, a true watershed moment. And yes, I have been waiting all week to use the word watershed in respect to my water being turned on. So I went to the water authority and I have to tell you about the experience. And first I must confess, I don't know if this happens to you, but I will just be transparent. When I heard that I had to go down to the water authority to turn on the water, I had all this attitude built up in my mind, because the truth is, for some of us, when you talk about going to a government agency, we just think inefficiency. It was such a smooth and efficient process, right? I really do have to thank the team there, from the security guard who was busy making sure all the senior citizens had somewhere to sit, to the lady at customer service who was explaining to me how the reconnection process will go and congratulating me on purchasing a unit, to the lady at the cashier just letting me know timelines in terms of when the water will be turned on. A 10 out of 10 experience at the water authority. People, we have water. Why? Because my water was turned on soon thereafter. And if you're wondering what you have to do, it's a pretty simple process. I was told to take a letter, and it was a letter that was given to me by the seller's attorney, and it said that I was now responsible for the bill and that I was now the new owner of the property, and it also had attached to it a copy of the last water bill, which showed that the bill was at zero. So the two of them together were given to me by my attorney. I took them in, and that is what the water authority wanted. I paid $65 reconnection fee. They let me know when they were coming, and they came exactly when they said they were coming. And we have water. If the contractor saw me doing this, right? Understand that if I fall, it will not be a part of the show. So the water turning on was a good surprise. The removal of this wall, however, was a shock. You can imagine me walking in my good place to see a wall out, and I didn't even know why the wall was out. So I had to truly trust the process and immediately call the contractor to ask, my guy, what part of the wall gone and why? I didn't reach him immediately. So of course, I go to ask somebody on the site, so how can we remove this wall? For the young man to tell me, I thought I was supposed to remove it. I just want you to know, I immediately went in my car and practiced my breathing exercises. Anyways, this wall was removed because closets are going here. This room never had any closets, and apparently a part of the process of putting in closets sometimes is removing a part of the wall. That's why we don't have any wall. See, always an answer. Fenella and I, this is Fenella, are going to try to answer two of the questions that I get pretty often The first one is, what's it like buying a fixer-upper? Is it a more complicated process with the bank? I wouldn't use the word complicated, but I would say there are a few more steps. So up to a certain point, it's the same. Initially, the bank is going to want to establish that you are who you are. That's all your ID documents, that you have the financial capacity to service the loan. So financial statements, debt statements, etc. They're going to also want to establish that the seller has the legal right to sell the property, i.e. they own it and it's free from encumbrances. Up to that point, it's pretty similar. Where you start to see the differences is this. All the homes in a condition like this tend to have a story. They maybe have been a part of a legal dispute, someone may have died, but documents for the house tend to be out of date. The valuation is likely outdated. In the instance of this house, the plot plan was very outdated, so I had to get a new one. You're also going to have to be able to demonstrate to the bank that you can bring the property up to standard. They're not going to lend you money, and I mean, unless they want to come in and correct me. You don't get money for houses like this unless you plan to improve on them. You also can't get them insured unless you plan to improve on them, and you can't buy a house with a mortgage without insurance. So you're going to have to get a quote for the renovation, and the bank may finance the renovation, or you may have to demonstrate that you have the money to do the renovation. And when I say demonstrate, because this is what I was told, or I should say what happened to me, it doesn't mean saying, oh no, I got $50,000, $1,000, $100,000, and you and I both know we could easily do what we want with this money. You're going to have to deposit that money with the bank, and it's going to be drawn down over a period of time, because you will remain accountable to the bank for the renovation. Another thing, a behind the scenes thing, but the lawyers dealt with it, is that if you are purchasing a property from an overseas seller, which I was, this person did not live here, you're going to have to get central bank clearance to send the funds overseas. So that's another step. And when the seller is overseas, they still have to physically sign documents. So that's another step. So just be aware. Does it make it more complicated? No, but when things are taking time, it's good to know what's happening behind the scenes. Okay, so this is a quick one. Would I buy another property? Definitely, and I think you could tell that I actually like this madness. But I don't think I would go for another residential property. I would be interested in buying a commercial building, either something with storage units, office spaces, or a small hotel. Go figure. Do I see myself doing this anytime soon? No, your girl's spending a small fortune on this one, so who knows? But would I? Yes. Do I see myself doing it anytime soon? No, not immediately. Next question was, what is it costing you to renovate this property? Well, this question, is a bit of a loaded question. I had to provide the bank with a quotation. Now, the quotation I gave them is a quotation that brings the property up to a livable standard. Right? As you can see, no one can live here. What does a livable standard mean? That the utilities are installed and functioning and up to code, that the roof is on, that the house is clean, that the fixtures and fittings for the bathroom are in. What it does not mean is the special door handle that I want. To bring this property up to standard conservatively, and the contractor told me conservatively, it's about $90,000. Now you might be saying $90,000 for all of that work. Remember, this is not the fanciness. Also, this house is quite small, and a lot of quotations are actually based on square footage. So one of the benefits of having a small property is that the quotes tend to be proportionate to the amount of space you want to renovate. But $90,000 is what I'm starting with, but I was told, depending on how I want to do my finishes and all the little niceties, it will be more. And the last question, will I be speaking more about the financial process of acquiring multiple properties or the legal processes? Yes and no. There's a twist to it. I am very happy to share my personal experiences, but I also know that for something as important as buying a house, you really do need to hear from a professional. So I have reached out to a few people to get the answers for some of your more technical questions. And even better, some of them have actually agreed to join me here to answer them for you. So that way you get the best of both worlds. You get to see what's going on here, and you can get some professional input. So I was told that during the course of this week coming up, we're gonna be having some action here. The roof is coming off. which to me just said, Kelly, go and look for furniture and fittings, right? But no, the roof is going to be coming off. And as the contractor told me, look, mistress, this can get worse before it get better. I thought it was pretty bad, but clearly we still have a way to go. But I hope you join me for the journey. See you next time.